Today, I'll be able to talk about introduction to poetry. What is poetry? You may ask yourself what poetry is, but as I understand, there is no specific definition to poetry. Most scholars have given various definitions about what poetry is, but for now, I will be able to give two definitions of what poetry is. Poetry, as you understand, has got some terms. Before I give the definitions, we also look at some terms in poetry. We have another term that we call poet. You also ask yourself, who is a poet? Another one will be, who is a poet? And then there is a poem. What is a poem? Apart from poetry, we have these two terms that a student should understand for them to understand what poetry is. This concept of poetry. For you to understand it, you must be able to understand the three terms. First, I will start by giving you the two definitions given by various scholars. The first one is that poetry is the art of writing thoughts. Writing thoughts, we have writing what we call thoughts, the art of writing thoughts, ideas, and dreams. Ideas as well as dreams. Writing these three into imaginative language. You write the three into imaginative language, which may contain verse, meter, repetition, and rhyme, which may contain the following: verse, repetition, meter, as well as rhyme. You must be able to understand that. That is the first definition of poetry. The second is, poetry is a writing that formulates a concentrated imaginative awareness of experience in language chosen and arranged to create a specific emotional response through meaning, sounds, and rhythm. As you can hear, the two definitions seem to be more of the same. There is no big difference. That is why even the variety of definitions that we have revolve around the two. Now, let us look at the next term. We have poet. Who is a poet? Who is a poet? As you have to understand, a poet is a person. And who this person is? This is a person that writes poetry. Or the one, a poet is the one, a poet is the one that writes poetry. So it is clear that the person who writes poetry is referred to as a poet. This is what you must understand for you to understand this concept of poetry. There is another poem, which is called poem. What is a poem? A poem. You must understand that a poem is a verse. It is written in verse form. It is not poetry. You should not confuse between poem and poetry. Understand that this is a written expression of emotion or ideas in an arrangement of words or verse, most often rhythmically. So you have to understand that a poem is arranged in verse and it is rhythmical. There is what we call rhyme. It is written rhythmically in verse form. We have different types of poetry. Different types of poetry. These types, a student must understand for them to perform in this concert, for them to understand a poem very well. We have different types of poetry. One, you must understand that this area is categorized depending on some reasons. First, you have to understand that there are over 50 types of poetry. It is categorized by one, the number of lines in the poem. What categorizes poetry can be the number of lines in the poem. Another area, for example, we have a type of poem depending on the number of lines, which we call a sonnet. A sonnet is a type of a poem. This one is given this name depending on the number of lines that this given poem has. A poem can also depend on, for you to name a poem, it can also depend on what we call the words in the poem. The words used in the poem. We can also categorize this depending on whether it rhymes or not. Remember, we have poems that have rhyme scheme and we have those that do not have rhyme scheme. So it can be named depending on those. Lastly, for you to name a poem, it can depend on what it is about, what the poem is about. For example, a poem that talks about love can be called a love poem. Yeah, the one which talks about love is called love poem. Of course, I understand that we have several love poems. In East African poems, we have several love poems. And we can also have other types of poems like death poem, the one which talks about death. We can call that one death poem. Death poem. The one which talks about death or the consequences brought by death. So that is a death poem. We have a variety of poems. Now, we have the common types of poetry. As I have stated here, sonnet is one of them. Love poem, death poem. We also have the one that we call haiku. A poem that we call haiku. Haiku poem. Haiku. This one, I will be able to explain what it means and you will understand better. We also have another poem that we call name poems. Name poems. Name. Name poems. This one. Name poems. And we have other types like free verse poems. Free verse poems. Free verse poems. So the poems are so many. We have a variety. But right now, let me introduce you to the type that maybe students are not aware of. And this is haikus. The haikus, this one, is a poem which originated from Japan. The haikus is a poem, as I have said, which originated from Japan. And it is the shortest type of poem. Why do we call it the shortest type of poem? It is the shortest because it has 3 lines. It has what you call 3 lines only. That is why it is the shortest poem. You have to understand that the first and last lines of this poem have what we call 5 syllables. And the middle line has 7 syllables. You must understand that one. The lines in this particular poem rarely rhyme. There is no rhyme in the lines of this poem. There is no rhyme. It is so unique as compared to other types of poems. And you have to understand that it is the shortest poem, simply because it has 3 lines. And I think that if you have the understanding of this particular poem and you are aware that this is the shortest poem given in an exam, it will be easy for you to tackle questions related to this particular poem. For now, I hope I will be able to stop there and will continue to explain more about this particular type of poem and the others, such as sonnet, love poem, death poem, and among others. I will be able to explain next time. Thank you so much.